Hey, good afternoon. This is Mr. Ensign coming to you about exemptions. And so I guess anybody could watch this video, but really it's meant for our freshmen and our new students just to kind of explain the process. There's some stuff in this message on Parent Square that will give you that same information, but I just wanted to explain a few of those things. But you're always welcome to ask any questions either to me, an AP, a counselor, a teacher. They should all be able to answer any questions you might have. This is the same kind of policy that we've had for the last couple of years. We've just tweaked a few things on the form, and so it might look just a little bit different. First off is the amount of exemptions. And so if you are a freshman, sophomore, or a junior, you get up to 4 exemptions, and then you could get a bonus exemption. More about that later, so it could be 5, but 4 to 5. If you're a senior, you have the ability to possibly exempt all of your classes. And so that's going to be an important piece for you to pick up. The second thing that you need to know is they are a class by class situation. And so I'm about to talk about the absences and the grades. So you just need to understand that that is not a school day thing. That is a class by class situation. And so first period may be different than third period, which is different than fifth period, which is different than sixth period. So each period could be a different way depending on how you meet the expectations on those things. So it's not you get all of them or you get none of them. It could be on a class by class basis. So a couple things that I'm always asked is, which grade do you look at? Well, you look at the semester grade. And so we will have a drop dead date, probably late next week, where we'll say, okay, by this day, we're looking at exemptions. And so you're going to be looking at for now, you're going to be looking at your S1 grade, your semester 1 grade in Skyward or on your report card, however way you want to look at that. That average is what we are using, not your first 9 weeks, not your second 9 weeks, but where are you at semester-wise at that moment in time. So when you're thinking about the grades that I'm going to talk about in a second, that's the key. Same thing with absences. Absences are for the entire semester. And so you're looking at from the first day of school till late next week is when we'll start looking at those for absences. And so that's going to make a point. So let's talk about those expectations. And so we got 2 levels that you can kind of meet. If your grade is between an 85 and an 89 for that class, that period, whatever period that is, and that's for the semester. So if your grade is between 85 and an 89, you cannot have more than 2 absences. Now, those absences are different absences, and so we'll talk about the absences in a second. Just know that you can't have more than 2 absences that meet that criteria. If you have a 90 or better, meaning you have an A or better average for that semester, then you can have 3 absences in that class, but no more than 3. So if you have 4 absences in that class, you could have a 99. You're still not able to exempt that class. The exemptions are meant to be a reward for school attendance, good behavior, and academic success. And so you're going to see how we pull those things in. You have to be present in classes. You can't have too many absences. You have to have good grades. That's the academic side. And they have to have good behavior, because I'm going to talk about that in a second. Because if you got certain things on your behavior record, then you don't get any exemptions. So just keep that in mind. So 85 to 89 for the semester, and you have to have 2 absences or less. If you have a 90 or better, then you have 3 absences or less. And so if you have 4 absences, 5 absences, 6 absences, according to the codes that I'm going to tell you about in a second, then you're not able to exempt. So let's talk about attendance coding, because that can get crazy. There's a lot of numbers and a lot of letters out there. The only 2 that you've got to pay attention to, so the only ones that count against you, the only ones that we count when we look at exemptions, are the U's for unexcused absence and the N's for parent notifications. So there's like notes, so parent notes. Any of those. So if you're looking at second period, let's say you have a second period biology class. So you look down your attendance, and if you count all the absences, as long as you don't have, if you have 3 or less of the U's or the N's, then you go by the grade. Then you go look at the grade for the semester, then that tells you whether you can exempt that class or not. The S's don't matter, the M's don't matter, the D's for doctor's notes don't matter, school events, all that stuff, all those other letters don't matter. The ones you're counting are the U's and the N's. And so just kind of keep that in mind as you're starting to look at those. So that's the grades, that's the amount that you have, that's the attendance coding. Now, the other thing that you need to keep in mind is the discipline requirement. So like I said, we're promoting school attendance. So that's the attendance codes. we're celebrating academic success, and so that's your grade, but we're also rewarding good behavior. So if you had any ISS, if you had any out of school suspension, or if you had any EPIC placement, I don't think we've had any expulsions this year. So those three things, you don't get to exempt. You lose all your exemptions. And I know that's going to affect some of you guys because of that cell phone policy, because if you had that second cell phone policy, then you had a day of ISS. If you've had so many tardies, you might have reached the 10 or 12 tardy limit. Those are days of ISS. So you lose those exemptions for that. And for that, I apologize, but that's the idea behind exemptions, is we're trying to incentivize and reward good attendance, good behavior, and good academic success. And so you've got to meet the grade. You got to have the right amount of absences, and you couldn't have gotten in trouble. And again, this is all on the flyer. I'm just trying to explain it to you also. A couple additional guidelines I want to make sure that we're clear on. This is really for everybody because I don't know that everybody's clear on some of these. Exempting the final does not mean you get to exempt the day. You still have to be present. And so if you miss the final, if you miss that exam period, then and you're exempt. Say you made an exemption. So I decided to exempt geometry class 5th period, but I miss my 5th period that day, or I get checked out early on that day. You have to stay the entire class period. You can't get checked out early. If you do, you lose that exemption, and you'll be expected to take that final when we come back in January. So let me say it one more time. You exempting the class does not mean you get to miss that class period. Even if you check in and you do attendance and you're just hanging out in our exemption area, I'll talk about that in a second too, you have to stay the entire time. The number 6, any exempt student may take it's number 5C. On the day of exams, exempt students must stay in class. A student who is checked out during the period of an exempted exam will lose the exemption. So you don't get to check out early. You have to stay here, and that includes the last class of the day. You've got to stay here. If you check out early, that's fine, but you're going to lose that exemption. And so when we come back from break, you will be expected to take that final. Okay? Number 2 is pretty self-explanatory. Number 3, if you think there's an extenuating circumstance, and some of y'all have been very proactive on this, file an appeal to me. Just let me know. Send me an email, and we'll talk, and I may allow you to exempt that exam despite meeting the attendance requirements. I'm not going to make any move on discipline. I'm not going to make any move on grade. We can be a little flexible when it comes to attendance or exemptions. You also have to be all clear on fees, monies, books, cafeteria debts, which we don't have much of that anyways, equipment, laptop repairs. You can't be owing any money to the district for you to be able to get the exemption. And so the way that will work on the day of, so again, I know some of you freshmen, none of you freshmen have been a part, and some of you new students haven't been here. So you'll report to your class on the day of that test, so you can see that final exam schedule. You'll report to that testing room. If you're exempt, about 5-10 minutes into class, I'll make an announcement. And then I'll make that, once that attendance is taken, I'll make that announcement, then you'll be able to go to various places. And so we have the library, we have the commons area, we have the cafeteria, we have the gym. Once you pick one of those 4 places, you have to stay there. You can't move between the 2 or 3 or 4. You have to go to those places and you have to stay there. You'll check in. So when you come down to those places, we take attendance again at the beginning. We also take attendance at the end to make sure you stayed there. We have to have an account of where you're at all times. I have to think safety first, and so in case something was to happen, we got to be able to have a record of who all's in that area. So you'll check into class. I'll make an announcement. If you're exempt, you'll be sent down. If you're not exempt, you stay in that class. Even when you're finished with your test, you have to stay in that classroom the entire time. And so, and I guess one place I forgot is sometimes kids check in and they go back to see another teacher. That's okay too, but we have a process for all that. There's a whole spreadsheet system. It's quite a bit. We have people that check people in, check people out. Again, we check at the beginning and we check at the end. And then the last one, number 6, is an exempt student. You can take the final exam, and your teachers will know this, but the exam will only be averaged into the final grade if it does not decrease the final grade. So if you're going to use one of your exemptions on, say, an English class, I want to exempt English, but then I think about it and I want to take that final exam. That final exam will not hurt you, and so hurt your final grade. It can only help your final grade. So if you choose, now understand, when you take that, even though you're exempt, if you're taking the exam, you're staying in that classroom. You don't get to take the test and come down to another location. So just kind of keep that in mind. And then finally, the bonus exemption opportunity. Any student who's had 0 tardies, talking from the first day of school till late next week, if you've had 0 tardies, you will earn the bonus exemption. And so I'll have a list of that. It'll be a column at the very end. Your teachers will be able to tell you whether you have that or not, because it'll either be green or red. The red means you didn't earn it. The green means you did. And so that means like a freshman or sophomore, you can have 5 exemptions instead of 4. And so just kind of keep that in mind. And those are max exemptions. And so if you have any questions about any of this, don't hesitate to reach out. Let me know. I know this ended up being a little longer than I meant, but hopefully I've cleared up all those things and you can kind of understand that. Take a look at the flyer that's attached to this and let me know if you have any questions. And I can't wait to see you guys. Talk to you later.